Network TV used to be spectacular. There was a whole bunch of stuff that drew you in, and it was a really fun experience. We'll talk about this more in just a second here. Ah, network television. Boy, the nostalgia hits me like a ton of bricks. These days, I spend most of my time watching old promos and commercials from network television from the late 90s and early 2000s when I was a kid. And the nostalgia just hits me like a train. Not even the programs themselves, but just the surrounding stuff about the networks, the bumpers, the station promos and identities, the commercials. Yes, even the commercials were more entertaining than now. It's absolutely spectacular. It's a wild, nostalgic ride to what I think was a lot better time. And it wasn't just because I was a kid, but because television was the place to be entertained. Most people need to understand, especially young kids that don't have television today. I sound like I'm in my 70s, but I'm only 31. Point being, television was what the internet is now. Companies were putting massive effort into keeping people's attention. And so networks had to have identities. They had to have program varieties. They had to have marathons. They had to have programming blocks. They had to have specials and movies. They had to have all of these different things to keep people's attention on their network because they were competing with other networks. The landscape was totally different. Yeah, a lot of the same channels that exist today were there back then, but a lot of channels were offering programs that other channels didn't that were drawing attention. So they had to be competitive. A lot more shows got greenlit. A lot more special programs got greenlit. And at the end of the day, you had just a bigger variety of things to watch, even though we all complained there's nothing new to watch on TV. I remember just blindly channel surfing at certain times and just being bored because there was nothing on. So eventually I just switched the input on my TV and there I was playing video games. Yes, there wasn't something new on all the time, but there was enough variety to keep the TV on at the very least. And then when the internet came on the scene, our computer was in our living room, so we just looked over at the TV whenever there was something interesting, but we left it on. And then a lot of families started getting multiple TVs in their households and multiple cable hookups. And then things got really special. Everybody could watch what they wanted when they wanted. Television was like a wonderland. It felt like a theme park. It was really, really great. Everything, again, from the advertisements to the station identities to the bumpers for the programming to the interstitial programs. It was all great. It really was. And I'm sure most of you remember that time period and what television was like. Do you remember Cartoon Network City? Cartoon Network City is the height of what I'm talking about. Around 2004, Cartoon Network launched this campaign where they had all of their current and some of their past characters interacting in one big blended CGI city. And this was stuff that happened between programming. And a lot of times if there was a certain show, you had bumpers correlating with that show. They were beautiful to look at. They had amazing soundtracks. They had all the voice acting from those shows. It was brilliant. I'm sure it was insanely expensive. I'm under no delusions that it wasn't. But it was the height of the network's popularity. After that, it started to go downhill drastically, even though there was still some good programming. But all that tells me is, when done right, network television can be one of the most entertaining places on earth. In this age of on-demand, internet-generated content, I miss the days when you could just turn on your TV and there was something that caught your interest. I still watch a lot of network television, not nearly like I did back in the day because, to be honest with you, network television is a wasteland now. I don't recognize the networks that I grew up with. They don't have visual identity anymore. They've completely given over their visual identity to be more simplistic, to be more streamlined. There is this trend in business from logos down to their philosophies of minimalism, and it's just really, there's nothing visually appealing anymore. Many networks and companies have changed their logos. Their entire visual identity has been reduced down to the most simplistic thing possible. The bumpers are uninspired. The only network that seems to have anything resembling a visual identity is Adult Swim. They have a lot of the old style bumpers that they used to have with very colorful, bright animations and just chaos, but it's all in service of promoting the channel. And it's a whole lot of fun to watch. But unfortunately, other networks aren't really mimicking that. And as a result, they just come across as bland and uninteresting. Another interesting trend I've noticed about more modern broadcast television is some of them are starting to rebuild family blocks. For instance, True TV is building a block they call Comfort Food. Currently, it contains Family Matters and Step by Step, but I think eventually they're going to get the other TGIF shows that were distributed by Warner Brothers. And they're going to have these nice family blocks, similar to old TBS. And I think that's awesome. Hopefully they go through with that. And that's the other problem, is a lot of genres have just gone the way of the dinosaur. When was the last time you saw a family-centric multi-camera sitcom that felt like a nice stage play the way they used to on days like TGIF? I can't recall anything recently other than maybe Last Man Standing. But other than that, where did they go? And what's the reason for their disappearance? I know there's a lot of people who have their own personal reasons for not watching those types of shows. But you can't tell me that they don't resonate with people because they dominated for several years. So what's happened? A lot of people will cite the internet and streaming as the main reason why network television is quote-unquote obsolete. But if that's the case, then why does Fast TV exist the way that it does? Fast TV stands for Free Ad-Supported Television. And there are networks like Pluto TV, Tubi TV, the Roku channel, Freevee, and so on. And they have a list of custom-made channels with licensed content based purely on genre. Everything from movies to sitcoms to game shows to reality shows. All of this is made available for free with ads in the same format as regular network television. And a lot of people use it, myself included. The biggest weakness with these services is, despite an abundance of content, there's still a lot of stuff missing. There's still a lot of shows and movies that people want to see on these platforms, but Hollywood is very slow to actually put that stuff on there. Now, what's interesting is with the writer's strike, I don't know if we'll see an increase in this content or not, and I certainly hope that we do, because I think it'll only bolster these fast TV services. Warner Brothers has been rumored to have their own fast TV service coming out very soon, and I'm looking forward to that because they have a good library. But I haven't heard any updates on it. I'm slowly keeping my eyes on it to see where it actually goes. But there seems to be no updates as to the progress. I know they have several channels available on other fast TV services, but I'm excited for their own service because of what they have available and have license to. Both the Warner and Discovery libraries could make for some really cool stuff. I could imagine them having Old Crocodile Hunter be its own channel with Discovery. And I can imagine Looney Tunes having its own channel with Warner Brothers. Stuff like that really makes me very excited. I think that's the future of network television, to be honest with you. And network television as it exists, I don't feel like it's obsolete. I feel like it's vastly underutilized because the focus has shifted to streaming. But an interesting phenomenon has taken place recently, where you're starting to see simulcasting between streaming platforms and network television. This is a bold and winning strategy, in my opinion. Because if you're somebody who likes to watch network television, and you're somebody who also likes streaming, you have more options for new programming. You get to see it as it airs on network television, but if you should miss it, it's available on the streaming service. Which is why I think more streaming services need to adopt a model like Hulu, where you get linear broadcast network channels, but you also get all of your on-demand streaming. That sort of model can only help, and I think if the network TV carriers, the cable and satellite and internet TV companies, if they adopt this model, I think that will be the future of television, where you have a synergy. And some people might say, well, it seems a little redundant, but you have to understand, network television is an experience. That's what draws people to it. It's an experience that you enter into. It's appointment television, is was often referred to. And there have been plenty of people who refer to network TV as obsolete and nobody has time for it. But you forget, we live in an age where you can take network TV with you thanks to a little device known as your smartphone. I've done it before. It's actually really cool. I would have given anything at 9 or 10 years old to be able to watch TV on the go. And now it's a reality. So if they lean into that aspect, I think they'll get a lot more viewership. A lot of people don't know you can do this. A surprising number of people don't know you can do this. They don't know about services like Sling TV that allow you to use both your TVs and your phones, or even their own cable and satellite companies that allow you to do that. They don't know about it, and therefore they don't use it. Mostly because it's too expensive, and it's expensive because of the retransmission fees of channels like ESPN. They've got to somehow negotiate to get those retransmission fees down, and they got to work with the ad companies to create better advertisements. So that way, if people are going to sit through ads, that they're going to be entertaining. Because one of the draws of streaming is that there's no ads. At least if you pay to a certain tier on certain streaming services. There are other tiers that include ads, which is egregious to me. At that point, they should just be free. But I made a short video talking about how streaming is basically becoming cable. And I pointed out that with the ad tiers, it's basically what it is. The cheapest tiers have ads. So what's the difference between a linear broadcast that interrupts your programming or on-demand streaming? There really isn't much, other than you can watch what you want, when you want, where you want. But with linear TV, you can watch where you want as well. You just can't watch when you want. It's tied to a schedule. But if it's got an on-demand component, you can make up for it. Linear broadcast has the technology to keep up with streaming. It's proven this. But a lot of people have given it up sheerly out of price and the inconvenience of ads and the inconvenience of schedule. But again, having a phone kind of mitigates that, unless you're going somewhere where you absolutely can't watch it. But if you're traveling, you absolutely can. So I think that what the networks need to do is lean into the technology available and start really creating shows and visual identities for their networks again. I think that's when they'll start to see people subscribe again and they'll see numbers soar. Because I'll tell you this much, as great as internet content is, sometimes people need a break from YouTube and TikTok and all this other stuff, and they need something else to do. Going back and watching network television is a great escape from that. I've done it a lot more recently, and it's been fun, even if it's older content. Some people complain about, the attention span problem thanks to the internet, but if you watch enough network TV, you can absolutely adjust. In short, I think network TV not only used to be amazing, but it could be amazing again, and I'm definitely invested in its potential revival. So let me know what you think about network TV. Do you have any memories with it? What are some of your fondest memories, favorite shows, favorite networks, the time spent, memories with family members, all of that? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, Hollywood doesn't respect you. This has been Super Koopa TV. God bless. Have a good one. Peace.